Hello, I'm James Stephen, technology journalist at UC Today. Joining me is Zeus Kerravala, the Principal Analyst and founder at ZK Research. Today we'll be discussing the Zoom Perspectives 2022 Analysts Conference. Hello Zeus, how are you?
Good, James. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, Zoom Perspectives 2022, how was it?
It was good. First of all, I'm partial to any company that starts with the letter Z, so uh, I thought it was a good conference. I thought the company did a nice job of outlining the vision for the future. Obviously, Zoom is a company in transition. In fact, I think our whole industry is in transition, James. I think if you look at the way Wall Street had valued companies like Zoom and their competitors pre, the pre post during the pandemic, it was a lot higher than what they're valuing today. And I think there's a lot of concern out there, especially from the investor community. Do we need companies like Zoom as we come out of the pandemic? Right, we're moving into lots of companies are reporting people coming back to work, and so I think there's a lot of questions about the value of these online collaboration tools as we return to normal. And I thought Zoom did a nice job of outlining the case for Zoom in the future.
Okay, thanks. And then, what were some of the big topics which you heard discussed there?
Well, the theme of the event was the power of the platform. And I think Zoom talked a lot about how they're making the shift to a platform company. Now, I will say, with that being said, the word platform is thrown around quite easily, right? Like every vendor in the space tosses, platform, platform, platform. But I don't, and so the question is, what is a platform in the collaboration space? And I don't think Zoom is there yet, but nor do I think anybody else in this industry is there. To me, when I think of a platform, it is a company that enables other companies to build on top of, so you can do more. So if you think of very commonly used platforms today, Salesforce, Microsoft operating system, Apple, right? Those companies all have massive ecosystems around them that pull through a lot of revenue, that build on top of them, and that becomes the underlying platform. So why do I buy an iPhone, right? Do I do this because I like, Apple? No, I do it because it's got this great wide range availability of applications, because Apple is a platform. I think Zoom, and again, I'm not picking on Zoom, I'm picking on the entire industry here, has a handful, a few hundred application developers. That's nice and stuff, but to me, that's not a platform. The platform strategy, I know, kicks in when you've got two guys in a garage building applications that run on top of Zoom that then is used to pull through Zoom. And there's a lot of benefits for the vendor. Your cost to sell goes way down because you become the de facto standard. And so I think Zoom is thinking the right thing. I think it's important to become a platform, but I think this industry still needs to mature a lot before we actually see a couple separate themselves as true platform vendors.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they're looking to expand, but at the same time, their recent Q2 results didn't meet expectations. Did they address that at all?
They did actually. They addressed it right up front, and I was glad they did. In fact, they had their CFO Kelly Steckelberg talk to us, which we don't often get CFOs talking to us in an analyst conference. So I certainly appreciated her spending the time with us. She actually spent dinner with us and things like that. And I think what we saw in Zoom's last quarter was a bit of really two sides of the same coin for Zoom. It's a company going through transition. And so much of the decline in Zoom's growth is due to the fact that its consumer business, the online retail business, is rapidly dropping really off a cliff. And think about, what did we do on Zoom? A couple of years ago, we were doing everything on Zoom. People had family reunions on Zoom. We did birthday parties on Zoom. The NFL draft had a big party people watching on Zoom. And so we were living our lives on Zoom. And we're not doing that as much anymore, right? We're going to bar mitzvahs in person. We're going to birthday parties in person, things like that. So now, in conjunction with that, and so I've been expecting to see that decline in the consumer business. Now, on the positive side, though, we did see the enterprise business grow 27%. And, they reported 4 million Zoom phones Zoom phone seats, aggregated up until now, which is pretty impressive. They've only been in phone a few years, right? And so they're already up to 4 million seats. And so I think that they've legitimized their play in phone, but I think that does show they're selling more and more to business customers. Contact center is another area they're venturing into, which will create, even more kind of more ARPU revenue per customer. And so I think, when we look at Zoom, they're kind of at a crossover point now. I did ask how long it would take before we saw the bottom, in the consumer business, and I think they're still at least a year away from that. So the kind of tepid growth that we've seen from Zoom is likely to take, we'll see that through the rest of this year, through the next calendar year. But I think we will see a point where the enterprise business starts to outpace the growth in the enterprise business outpaces the decline in the consumer business quite a bit, and then we'll start to see that hockey stick growth curve again for Zoom.
Okay, and do you get any other insights into Zoom's future plans, its product roadmap, and
Yeah, well, contact center is certainly a big part of it, and I think contact center is extremely important for Zoom. If you look at this whole UC/CC thing we talk about, James, all the time, it's pretty interesting because on the UC side, vendors wind up throwing more and more features at their product, and we see the line for pricing hold fixed, right? So you have to add more to be able to get the same as you're getting today, and that's because I do think that UC, I don't want to say it's a commodity, but the features that we see from vendor to vendor tend to be fairly standardized. And then as soon as one vendor rolls it out, Zoom was the first to have, say, virtual backgrounds, but now everybody has it. So you can't really charge more for that, right? And everybody's got transcription capabilities, translations coming and things. And so I do think the UC side of the business is becoming fairly standardized. Contact center, on the other hand, I think is a lot of room for growth, but in two areas. First of all, I am expecting to see the average revenue per seat of contact center to continue to grow as we add more AI tools like Agent Assist and things like that, and make contact centers more efficient. But also, and this is something that's not really talked about a lot in contact center, is the number of people using contact center is increasing. And so we see marketing people, sales people, account managers, right? Field service people. Really anybody with the Salesforce.com seat today is using contact center. So we've got a growing ARPU, like a growing average seat price, and we've got a growing number of users. And so to me, that's why contact center is so appealing. The CEO of Five9, Rowan Traub, he tosses this $24 billion TAM number out for contact center, which is the number of existing seats multiplied by, I think, $150 per seat. I actually think it's twice that because we're adding so many more users and we're increasing the average revenue per seat. And so that's why, to me, contact center is so important to Zoom. And they did tie that together with an interesting statement where Kelly did reiterate the fact that Zoom wants to be a $10 billion company. Eric sort of joked, their CEO, that maybe it should be $15 billion. But if you look at SaaS companies, James, there's only been 4 companies that have actually managed to achieve that: Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and Salesforce. And so the question is, can Zoom actually be a $10 billion company? And to do that, I will go back to what I talked about before. All of those companies have something in common. They're all platforms. They're all de facto standards. They all allow other companies to build on top of them and do more with their own product. And so Zoom, I think, has the right mindset. Let's see if they can get there. That's, we're talking about a company that's $4 billion now. And as they say, the next $4 billion is a lot harder than the first $4 billion, right?
Well, it sounds like they're going through a big period of growth, and they've got some high ambitions.
Yes,
is there
and
anything
I would,
else?
and I applaud them for doing that. People like Zoom, right? You talk to customers. Whenever you ask IT pros. In fact, I last weekend I spent. I was golfing with a couple of customers that use Zoom, and they said the same thing, that their users like Zoom, right? The IT department uses Teams, and they say, well, it's not great, but it's good enough for the IT pros. But users like Zoom, and I think the fondness that the user community has with Zoom is going to allow Zoom to get its shot. People will take a look at phone. People will take a look at contact center because people like Zoom. Now, can Zoom deliver on the features and capabilities they need to have? That's the question. If they can, I think this company has got a legitimate shot of being a $10 billion company. right? But there's a lot that has to happen between now and then. But they certainly have the user community on their side.
So it seems like it's a question of can they live up to their brand name. Is
Yeah,
there?
and that gets harder and
Yeah.
harder as you expand into more areas, right?
Mm.
And as you become a bigger company, and if they continue to grow Zoom apps, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do there from a testing perspective. You've got to roll out low code, no code to appeal to different people. You've got to enable developers to self-service, right? This isn't, 500 app partners is one thing. 5,000 or 50,000 is a whole different thing, right?
Mm. And is there anything else which stood out to you at the conference?
I just think that this perception in the industry that the collaboration space is due for a decline because of hybrid work. For me, I don't really understand why. I guess I do understand, right? We saw a rise because people went home and now people are going back to the office. But for the most part, businesses are moving into hybrid mode. And I think in that case, and hybrid work is quite different than remote work. Remote work is about creating a great experience in one location. In-office work is about creating great work in another location. Hybrid work is about creating a consistent experience across locations, right? And that is difficult to do. And so we did talk about that quite a bit at Zoom, the role of hybrid work, which I do think we're going to run into. And if you look at the way Zoom's oriented their product, whether it's on a phone, in a room, through application partners, they have done a nice job of replicating that Zoom experience, which again, people like, right, across different locations and through different mediums. And so that was an interesting takeaway I had from the event. But, overall, I think, the big news was their 4 million phone seats sold, which, I think is a testament to how much people like Zoom. The fact that there were, one of the interesting actually takeaways I had from Zoom Phone, I came from a friend of mine who's a Seattle law firm. I didn't actually think Zoom had the feature set to be able to serve the legal industry because that, when you think of telephony heavy industries, what's more telephony heavy than legal, right? And he told me that 7 of the top 10 U.S. law firms actually use Zoom Phone. So to me, that was a big, kind of thumbs up for the quality of Zoom Phone. And so it's here. And then, of course, the other big topic was contact center. But the overarching theme of platform, I think, ties nicely to that goal of Zoom becoming somewhere between a $10 and $15 billion company. But Zoomtopia is coming up, and I think we'll see a lot more on a lot of these areas that they delved on at the analyst conference.
Zeus Kerravala, thank you very much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm James Stephen, technology journalist at UC Today. Please don't forget to like and share this video on our social media pages. Until next time, bye for now.